Thank you so much for joining me today at the Corporate Counsel Exchange. Could you start off by telling me a little bit about your role and responsibilities?
So I work in legal affairs and report to the General Counsel of Citadel Group, which is a privately held part of the Tetra Laval group of companies. And my role is really around governance, risk and compliance, Abby. So in corporate governance, really to work with our CEO staff, plus also the broader organization to make sure that we follow our corporate governance framework, which is fairly well established and mature now. On the compliance side, responsible for anti-bribery and corruption, then compliance with our policies and procedures at a group level to make sure that we follow through on that. I'm also the risk officer for Citadel Group, so I work with our CEO staff to look at the risks that are inherent in our strategy to make sure that we've got the right controls around that, in addition to the risks to our ongoing operations globally. But then on top of that, I administer the insurance program for Citadel, which is actually run by Tetra Laval, but it's administered locally within Citadel. That internal audit program, again administered locally, but run by Tetra Laval. And then we have about nearly 50 legal entities worldwide. So one of my roles is to make sure that we administer them properly globally. So exciting job. It includes a variety of assurance activities within the group, but also things like our whistleblowing process. And I manage all of our corporate governance cases worldwide too. So no 2 days that are the same.
At the Exchange, you're leading a discussion on the 3 lines of defence for GRC. Can you explain why it is important to reinforce the role of local, regional and central management to control the business?
So as I mentioned, we have around 50 legal entities worldwide, okay? And ultimately you've got to delegate the responsibility to run these legal entities locally. So our first line of defense is primarily our local managers in the legal entities in the markets that we're in worldwide. And these can be, they're geographically diverse from Latin America through Brazil to China and Europe and so on. And these frontline managers are responsible for not only delivering on the business strategy that they're responsible to the shareholders, but also in making sure that we control the businesses effectively. Okay, so that's our first line of defense. Okay, the second line of defense are the senior management team within the group. Now these guys are responsible to operate in a model that I call trust and verify. By that I mean they have to trust that the local line managers are doing their thing in delivering on the strategy, on their objectives, but also doing that in a manner that's cognizant of the risks and the controls in that environment. So they would independently verify not just the business objectives, but that it's been controlled effectively, the legal entities. The third line of defense is entirely independently of Citadel Group. It's an assurance activity run by our parent organization and run by our internal audit function, and they report directly to the shareholders and the owners of the business. Okay, that the business that's entrusted in us to manage by our shareholders has been run properly. Not just with being run in a very profitable way, but not by putting profits ahead of running the business in the right way. Okay, so those are the 3 lines of defense, and I often think of an issue being, a risk being like an arrow, which can penetrate these 3 lines of defense. And our job is to make sure that the 3 lines of defense are robust enough to prevent any adverse impact from penetrating that and impacting ultimately shareholder value.
And what are the main GRC hurdles you face globally, and how do you overcome these?
As I said, a very geographically diverse business, not uncommon with any other multinational out there. So the challenges that we have is how do you equip managers, in this global marketplace to make the right calls. Okay, we can never predict every eventuality that they may be faced with, but within legal affairs, our job is to make sure that they can make that right call regardless of the consequences. Okay, so and we call that doing the right thing. Okay, that's a message that we convey right from our CEO, right the way through management to every single employee, that their primary responsibility is to make sure that we do the right thing, regardless of the situation that they may be faced with. So that's the key challenge. And within legal affairs, our job is to equip these managers to be able to make those right calls. Yeah.
When you need external expertise or advice in a particular region, how do you go about finding the right legal or advisory firm to help? And what challenges do you face?
So we have a head start there, being a part of the broader Tetra Laval group of companies. We've established a network of external legal counsels that are there in the markets that we're present in, and their job is to support the zone or regional legal counsels, which are internal, and local management, okay, in dealing with a variety of different things that could be some form of litigation to some form of subject matter expertise that's required. So we have a central database that we pull on, and that's managed by country, by subject matter expertise, by how well they've dealt with certain issues. I think that one of the challenges that we run is making sure that these guys can represent us in a very organized and structured manner, okay? That they can deal with things in a very timely way, okay? That they don't drop the ball on a matter, and then we're looking to make sure that they've got the right liability insurance to represent us as well. So we're working on that database right now to actually make it, to pare that down, because it's fairly extensive right now. So based on our experience, who do you think can represent us most effectively in a particular market dealing with a particular subject matter?
How useful do you find GRC technologies and tools to assist with compliance?
So there's a whole basket full of tools out there, okay, and the most common GRC tools, and I'm not going to mention any one in particular, they've been around for a while, okay, they're very, very complex tools, can be very effective, okay, but they can be also very costly and very time-consuming to adapt to your own organization, okay. But they can't be static, Abigail, because we live in a very, very fast-changing environment where the risks are changing and the controls need to be adaptable too. So if we are stuck in an architecture that isn't nimble enough to adapt and modify, then that's a challenge. And that, I think, is the biggest challenge that we're faced with a lot of the GRC tools out there, is how effective can they be, but how nimble can they be, and how can we keep it current and relevant to our business, okay? Because, as I said, the risk and controls change on an ongoing basis.
And finally, what risks do you think general counsels and risk officers should be looking out for over the next 6 to 12 months?
Our goal, with legal affairs is to provide, sound, timely advice to the business, to our internal stakeholders. But the biggest challenge is to adapt to an ever-changing regulatory environment, okay, and an ever-changing business environment. It's very, very fast-paced, and so we've got to be able to what I call see around the corner. What is it that we can predict that could challenge us, okay? And I think the real the advantage there is, can we take that change and make it a strategic advantage to us? And I'll give you a case in mind. We deal with getting food products, beverage products to consumers, okay, in a safe way. But the regulatory landscape in that area is ever changing very rapidly, okay? And the burden of proof is always on us to make sure that we can provide a safe and secure food supply to consumers, quite rightly, okay? But to be relevant, to be timely, to foresee regulatory changes and adapt our business to cope with that. And that's also very, very relevant to things like data security, privacy, energy efficiency, and so on. So those are I think the big areas, at least from our business, and we've got to be able to, as I said, predict that, see around the corner, make sure that our businesses are equipped to deal with that. And if we're really, really good at it, it becomes a strategic advantage. We can do that better than one of our competitors and serve our customers better.